we millennials, we are efficient.
Yeah, and he told me that you don't work so much because you work too much. I'm like, there's no employer will tell you this,
Yeah.
Jumping in different fields, learning different skills.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Millennials Debunked. My name is Grace. I'll be the host for today. And I have my colleague right here, CK. And we are from Sweat Group. Being in training line, we noticed that there are a lot of corporations out there who face this issue of a generation gap between the employees. A lot of times, millennials feel like they are the most misunderstood generation in the workplace, but they don't have a place to speak out. This is the purpose of our program, where we want to be a neutral platform for the millennials to voice out their opinions, and at the same time for the current workforce and employers to be able to understand further what is all this new young generation thinking about. Today, in this episode of Millennials Debunked, we have these three wonderful guests with us. We have Waylin, we have Maple, and we have Lisa here. So I would like to get them to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Waylin, and I am currently still studying accounting to be exact. And my working experience so far is only 2 internships in auditing.
So basically, I'm still studying, but with a couple of years of experience, because before I continue my studies, I worked in Malaysia for probably half a year to 1 year before I moved to France. And I'm studying MBA now, but I'm working with this current company from my first year of internship, continue with part-time, and then now.
So far, I've been working around 3 years already since I graduated. I've been jumping in a lot of industry from telemarketing, inside sales, basically supporting salesperson to get appointments. And then I went into digital marketing as well. And just recently resigned from this cafe as a cafe management trainee. So it's like jumping in different fields, learning different skills. So hopefully in the next job that I'm getting will be a sum up of everything that I've learned. So I'm still looking for a new job currently.
One of the most important questions is the term millennials. What does the term millennial mean to you?
For me, there are pros and cons to it. The pros is we are the rising young people, young adults. We can change this era because we have the energy to do so. But also as a millennial, that there comes with stereotypes by baby boomers that are entitled, we don't work as hard as them, as Maple said. And sometimes I feel discriminated because of technology. The baby boomers think that we have things easy, but not all the time, because technology comes with the downside of it also. Millennial, a college degree is very important to get into the career world, without a college degree, it's not as easy to make it out there as compared to the older generation. So the added stress is there, and to get a college degree is not something everyone can afford. But all in all, I have to embrace it, because that is what I am.
What I hear is you will have to embrace it, but at the same time, you feel a lot of things are misunderstood.
Yes.
When they call you a millennial. Because there's some people who actually feel offended when people call them millennials. They will be like, oh, don't call me that. They're okay with the term because they understand, millennials equals to give a negative perception. They understand the term millennials, but they don't want to be addressed as it. They don't want to be addressed as millennials themselves. I hear from all of you, you guys are actually like okay with it, not too bad. You're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. You just don't know me as well. When you first joined into the workforce, did you feel welcome?
So far, I feel like the first job that I went to was quite welcoming. But I did also went to somewhere else to do part-time job. And I see there is like a age discrimination also, like, why are you here? Like asking weird questions. Since we are still young, right, we have more to explore, and there are times when we will be judging, aren't you supposed to go to other field, because this field is like all those auntie, uncle sales lah, and blah blah blah. I eventually went out from that field and I explore myself a bit more lah, which I'm glad lah.
How were your colleagues there? Were they nice or
Uh,
was it very different from your expectations?
it's like a both of being nice and at the same time they will stab you like that.
Just like Lisa, you mentioned that you have this communication gap between the generation, right? Can you explain more about that?
Yeah.
Like age gap lah, because they are around 40 something 50. So I'm 24 or 5 around that age, and it's like this is like under place. Don't you think you should be out there like other place? I just get like you are not suitable here, no. And you can't find a boyfriend here, you know. That's what I went through before lah. So just sharing as well.
But how did that make you feel when they said that to you?
It's like, okay lor, because I didn't go through that. Like, why the hell they think that way? I'm still like, oh, is it? Okay lah, never mind, then I'll go explore myself lah. How we react to the situation that shows our personality. So I think we learn along the way lah.
When you ask your seniors anything, then they might feel like you're asking weird questions. What are some of the weird questions that you were talking about?
Like career development, that kind of question. Like, oh, I see myself in this, that, and then it's like, don't you think you should be doing something else like that? Like career path, this kind of question.
Curiously, when I was working in Malaysia, I was working with one of the pharmaceutical company. It's one of the multinational company, and I went in. Everyone treated me very nice. I tried to blend in into their working experience. You need to meet 7 doctors a day. So 7 doctors a day is probably really not achievable, because as a medical, as a sales representative, doctors will put their patient first. If they have patient, they will let you wait for I don't know how many hours until they are free. So one day for 7 doctors and plus travel plus finding parking, it's not possible. So so I asked my colleague and said, no, 7 doctors a day, I don't think it's achievable. So they said, yeah, so in that case, then you pandai sendiri lah, ha? Because every time when you visit a doctor, you need to key in into their system. The colleagues told me to put in fake information, and the HR found out. The HR or the upper management doesn't care where you got the information. The fault is caught on you. It's my first job. I will not have chopped off my own head because of this. It's because of advice. They should actually investigate why does this kind of things happening. And I was actually quite proud to work in this company at first, but in the end, it was a bad experience.
My experience is, at the beginning, everyone was very nice to me. I was very fortunate that people were very nice. But there was one part that I want to highlight is, we millennials, we are efficient because of technology. So when I first get into my internship, they gave me a very old and barely functioning laptop. So I felt very...
The dinosaur laptop, is it?
Yeah. And how am I supposed to work with this? And one click for a window to pop up, it takes like 5 minutes. I don't felt respected, and I think the generation should respect us enough to give us the resources, the better laptops, the technology that we need to be productive, to be efficient. That is my first impression and my first experience when I started working.
Well, I find it very interesting that this is the first time I actually heard it, that the dinosaur laptops, passing down the dinosaur laptops, you might feel like, oh, they're not treating us with as much respect compared to the other.
Yeah, because in France, right, as you know, I'm an intern now. Okay, not a fully worker yet, because I'm home-based. I work from home. I don't work in the office. So if I need a monitor or if I need anything, they say, yeah, it's okay. For a company should provide you for you to be efficient enough. I can ask for anything. Yeah,
I went through the same thing actually. Like they just very supportive towards what I require. So you have to support your employee in a way.
I think a proper company, they should treat their people well. Yeah, because people are their assets. So if they don't treat their people well, they will not get their return of investment, you know?
Yeah, but what about those startup companies? They may not have the resources to give them absolutely a brand new laptop or something like that. So, any advice for employers out there who may have this, who may encounter this problem?
That I studied my MBA here. Expenses, company expenses can be claimed. I mean, tax can be reduced. I don't know. If a startup, I understood in that case, is bearable. Like for example, a pen. If you give me a pen that I couldn't write, how am I supposed to write?
And I was wondering, how important is being heard to you in the workplace? And I think, like for example, when Braylene, let's say you got the computer, like a dinosaur age computer, right? Did you have your chance to voice out about that?
Yes, I did. I actually showed a bit of my frustration to the managers, and they did do something about it. And they replaced my laptop in the middle of my internship. And you have to voice out. I think they learned also give better laptops to intern next time. Even the managers were frustrated with me for being so slow, but it is not my fault. So they realized. And also, I think the leadership in the company is very important. What goes on in a company, how things get resolved. Yeah, leadership is very important. If the leader is good, be it the manager or the director, I think things get resolved very fast and less conflict will happen. Things will be more peaceful and us millennials will feel better. And I think empathy plays a very important role in this. The leaders have greater understanding skills. We will feel more appreciated, we will feel heard, and we will tend to want to work harder for the company.
Is it true to say that if you were not heard, you may not want to work harder or put in effort for the company?
Yes. If I am not heard, I would think it is pointless and not much of a purposeful career to be in.
Personally, I feel that there's a big difference of the leaders here, directors here, the supervisors here, how they are being so supportive here than in Malaysia. I'm not sure whether it's the culture difference. I feel that probably in Malaysia it lacks of this because the older generation thinks that they have a lot of experience. Yes, they have a lot of experience, but if you control everything that we do, then we couldn't bring out a new initiative, a new things for you to develop. But here, they tell you this is the objective and you do whatever it is to achieve the objective. But I feel that when I was working in Malaysia, they tell you like step by step. So if you do step one, they ask you to do step one, you have to do step one. You cannot do more than step one. If you do more than step one, you are not obedient.
I would like to add on to Maple's point because I listen to TED Talk sometimes, like the podcast, and they mention about sometimes the person who interview these candidates, they will say, this is our culture, all right? So you have to comply to whatever cultures that we are having right now. So that's actually not the way that should be. Maybe we can work both ways instead, like, what can you contribute to the company's culture? Like, let's work together. It's not just listening to millennials, but also the older generation, how we can actually work together to build a company.
And this helps to give the younger generation a sense of ownership as well, is it, in the things that they do?
Somehow,
Also, I'd like to add on that. One thing I realized that is very bad in Malaysia is the work-life balance that we have here. Like in the auditing line, I've heard that some people actually stay late, even though to the point where they can't be efficient and productive anymore, just because the managers are staying late, or just because the people higher in the hierarchy are staying late. So you can only leave when they leave, which I think it is ridiculous, because if you can leave early and rest, then continue your work, that would have been better. So I think the emphasis on this kind of respect is wrong, and I think other countries are doing better at this.
For me, I'm just an intern. I work from 9 to 6 and I will just close my laptop. I don't care. I don't look at my phone. There's no WhatsApp, email, everything. After office hour, we disconnect everything.
But is it a social norm over there?
Yeah, it's very normal here. Probably different country have different norms. Probably I cannot compare France and US. Probably US because I realized that Malaysia follow a lot on the US culture. I based in France, so France is literally work-life balance, and you only have to work 35 hours a week, which means around 7 hours per day only, not more than that. Because if you work more than that, you are counted not efficient. Your concentration can be only 4 hours per day actually. But if you work more than that, then you cannot contribute your best to the company.
So you appreciate companies that would take care of the employees' well-being and letting them have their own me time.
Talk about this. My boss is actually very supportive. Like because now it's end of my semester and I'm supposed to do like a master thesis. My boss told me that no, you work too hard. You should concentrate on your thesis. I'm like, you should have concentrate. You should put yourself first, not the company first. Okay. My boss told me this. My boss who paid my salary said this. I'm serious. That's why I worked with this company for more than 1.5 years, even though I was just an intern. But yeah, I mean, I really worked with them for quite long.
So because feeling that support from your employer makes you feel like you want to put in more effort.
Yeah, and he told me that you don't work so much because you work too much. I'm like, there's no employer will tell you this, you know?
Yeah.
Some people might think staying back it's a sign of inefficiency. So I can say people leave on time and it's okay because their work shows, right? So that sees people staying back it's not really a good sign for me lah. But also depends on which industry are you from. Maybe you're from advertising, you're from editing. This kind of industry requires more working time. It requires more sacrifices, and maybe you should be briefed already at the very beginning, like the interview part. You kind of expected already lah.
Okay, so we'll move on to the last question of your advice. I think we've heard a lot about feeling supported and all that. And I think it's a very important factor, especially to our generation, the next upcoming generation. We want to feel supported. If you can say anything at all to any employers out there, how can they retain the millennials in their company and how can they show their support?
My advice to companies is to have good leadership. If you see the culture in the company that can be improved, or you feel like the culture in this other company is doing well, you as a leader, you have the power to change things. And when you do that, phenomenal things can happen and words goes around, and the reputation of your company will go around, and that will attract more skilled millennials fighting to work for you. And it will make a happier place for not only your company, but for millennials as well, because you are setting an example to other companies also.
But may I ask, what does it mean by good leadership in your view?
For example, if you see this very bad work-life balance here, you as a leader, you can step up and say, once you have finished your work, you can go. Or if you feel like you cannot do it anymore, you can just go back, take a break, and continue your work at home, not necessarily in the office. Things like that, small changes, like have more communication with the employees and be present, make sure that their problems are heard, and make sure whatever they come to you with, you solve their problems if it is in your power to solve. To have more empathy, to listen more, and place more actions that can change the culture in the workplace.
Wow. So to sum it up, a good leader would be someone who would dare to stand up for the well-being of those people under them.
For me, I think my advice to the millennium would be, of course, you have to prove that you are worth it for the company. And for the employers, probably you need to really listen to us, because no one are bad. No one wants to have bad intention to your company. You just have to listen, and no one wants to be unproductive to you too. Then you have to actually find what is the source of it.
So hearing out loud, just create the space to let people voice their opinions, is it?
The empathy and the understanding, I think for us, probably for the millennium, if you want to say, we really need a lot of support and your understanding.
Well, from my point of view, maybe like fresh grads also, they might experience this kind of hiccups when first employed, and maybe people see you as fresh grads, and you may not have more experience that people already have, but you don't have to feel discouraged or what, but be open-minded to learn things from your seniors, and seniors open up to share more views or any ideas that you may not know from a younger generation. So I would say really like standing close side by side and to grow the company together.
So it's like giving the opportunity for the younger ones to work alongside with them as well.
Yeah. Being heard, like what we discussed, like being heard, have that platform for us to communicate with you guys, and not just one way of communication, like maybe two or three way of communication.
Okay, so if I were to sum up all of your advices, so I think this will be for the employers out there who are listening to this. If you want to retain your new generation of workers, you want to retain the millennials, the new working force, important things are to have good leadership, stand up for the well-being of your employees, as well as hear them out, listen to what they want to say. I think also it's very important because this upcoming generation is very creative. They actually have a lot of ideas, and they actually are very smart and very expressive. So I think if we shut the millennials out and we say, nope, we don't want to hear a one-sided conversation, would actually be a huge turn-off to this generation. And also, they would need your empathy and your support. I think that we can hear from our guests here that your empathy and support means so much to this generation. Just by giving your support, it naturally becomes a motivation factor for these new young people to want to put in effort without even the bosses saying, why you don't put in effort? All you need to do is support them in their well-being, support them as a whole, and not just support them as in your work.
I think encouraging as well, like not just supporting them, like encourage them, like in a way, just supporting and encouraging.
I would like to add on to this as well. I think that it's very important for the employers to tell us what is their objective, what are their objectives, and there are a lot of ways to achieve the objective. So let us find our ways to achieve the objective by our own in our own ways. And then if we are stuck, then probably you can come in to help us. But point.
But I also think that employers who dare to do that, like give the objective and let you run it, they will have to be also very open to the very new ideas that might be coming in.
Of course, as an employee as well, you have to know how is their way to achieve that. Of course, they also have their way to achieve who they are today. But for us as a millennium, we have to know, okay, to understand how is their way to achieve today, and then try to find new ways to help them to improve better.
Wow, okay. Thank you all so much for this. I really, really love your inputs, very insightful. But unfortunately, this is all the time that we have today. Thank you so much, Buelin, Maple, and Lisa for joining us. Just want to let you guys know that because of your thoughts today, thank you for your boldness for just sharing all of this. Because of this, I can say that we are one step closer in bridging the gap between generations in the workplace. Yeah, so with that said, that will be all for today. So thank you all for those who tuned in and watched. So we hope to see you again next time. See you!